If you are a Chicago Bulls fan and want more Bulls content, do me a favor and go follow Bulls Scripted on Twitter. And speaking of Twitter, if you are following me on Twitter, which you should be, you would notice that the basketball player that I've been talking about the most for the past few months isn't an NBA player, but a college player by the name of Deandre Ayton. As a Chicago Bulls fan, I have been paying a lot of attention to the 2018 draft class. When I first looked at this class, based off of the hype that was given to certain players such as Michael Porter Jr. or Marvin Bagley, I didn't give much attention to Deandre Ayton. But I started seeing posts from Bulls Scripted, who again you should follow, that pointed out how Ayton is the best pick for the team, and after watching some of the highlights, I am now 110% convinced that Deandre Ayton is the best fit on the Chicago Bulls, and I'd like to convince you and explain why he is a better fit than players such as Michael Porter or Marvin Bagley. But before I do that, I would really like to just rant about the Bulls' current winning streak and about one player in particular who it is well known that I hate on this channel. Nikola f***ing Miroshit. Dude, stop. Bobby Portis needs to punch this man in the face again. It is so like Nikola Miroshit to suck for so long when I wanted the Bulls to be good, just to become good right when I want the Bulls to suck. Can this dude just do what he's supposed to do? Nikola isn't a good player when he needs to be, and he isn't a bad player when he needs to be. The Bulls need to lose to get top picks to one day become a good team. The Bulls for the past 3 seasons have been 8th seed, 9th seed, and 8th seed. Making a push for the playoffs again isn't taking this team anywhere long term. This team isn't even going to make the playoffs unless this streak is just never going to end. Or maybe Nico is the 2018 MVP and the Bulls are going to win 60 games in the championship. F*** it, man. Anyways, back to Deandre Ayton. Ayton plays for Arizona. He is a 7'1" and 260-pound beast with a 7-foot wingspan. He's also very athletic with a vertical that has been measured as high as 40 inches. Let's first talk about what Ayton does on the offensive side of the ball. Deandre Ayton is almost always the biggest player on the floor in college. He's a walking wall of muscle and he uses it to his advantage around the rim, where he shoots 85% at the basket, which is absolutely ridiculous. Now, if you heard me say in college and thought, well, how will that translate to the NBA? Well, Joel Embiid is an inch shorter and weighs 11 pounds less than Deandre Ayton, and he is often physically dominant in games, so Ayton's size will be useful in the NBA as well. And those 260 pounds on Ayton are pure muscle. So Ayton, just from a physical standpoint, is insanely impressive, but Deandre isn't just a big brute. No, Ayton has plenty of polish to his game with plenty of room for more. First of all, the post game is really impressive. With his size, as you would expect, he can push most opposing centers out of the way and get an easy dunk, but he can also hit a hook shot and the occasional turnaround jumper because he can also hit a jump shot. His mid-range jumper has been solid and pretty much unblockable because his release point is 1 foot higher than the basket. He has attempted threes, but they haven't gone in at a high rate, but considering everything else that he does, if Ayton could develop into just an okay three-point shooter, it's more than enough. Now on the defensive side of the floor, Ayton has actually been kind of disappointing. Many would say that Deandre is a little passive on the defensive side of the floor. Him being 7 feet tall with a 40-inch vertical, you would expect him to average more than just 1.4 blocks a game, and outside of the blocks, he just doesn't show that much effort. But I and many other people think that this is really just out of boredom. Deandre Ayton is a man amongst boys in college, and he really picks and chooses when he plays defense. But again, using Joel Embiid as an example, Joel Embiid going into the 2014 NBA draft was seen as a disappointing defender. He too was really not that interested in going full effort on defense every possession, and according to Draft Express, discipline on defense was Joel's second biggest weakness. But in the NBA, we all know how good of a defender and rim protector Joel Embiid is. I'm not too concerned about Ayton's lack of effort. And I haven't even mentioned the biggest plus with Deandre Ayton, his rebounding. Ayton is averaging 11.4 rebounds a game in college, 8.8 of those being defensive rebounds and 2.6 being offensive rebounds. In comparison to the top rebounders in the league currently, Andre Drummond in college averaged 7.6 rebounds, Karl Anthony Towns averaged 6.7 rebounds in college, and DeMarcus Cousins averaged 9.8. So Ayton is going to be a beast on the boards in the NBA. I could see him leading the league in rebounds for years. Now let's transition to how Ayton would fit on the Bulls and why he's a better fit than any other prospect. Considering the Bulls roster, Lauri Markkanen at the 4 is a great offensive player. His outside game is already borderline elite, and he is a solid post scorer and passer, as well as a surprisingly good rebounder. He's a legitimate 7-footer, but he is not bulky enough to play the 5, and I don't think that he ever will be. Even then, he's not a good rim protector, and his vertical is not impressive. So Lauri needs to be a 4. The talk of him becoming a center just isn't a good idea. But with Ayton's defense, that again I expect to be elite in the NBA, he would be a great 5 next to Lauri. He can be the inside guy while Lauri is the outside guy. Ayton can be in the post, and when a double team comes, he could kick it out to the perimeter to Markkanen or to Zach LaVine, another great shooter on this team. He's a great 3-point shooter, 39% from 3 last season on 6.6 attempts per game, and he could have a great big man guard 1-2 punch. I wouldn't want to be the guy who has to guard a Zach LaVine, DeAndre Ayton pick and roll. They are both skilled offensive players, and they are both very athletic. LaVine could explode to the basket, Ayton could catch a lob off of the roll, LaVine could pull up for a 3 or midi if he's open, or Ayton could pop out to the mid-range or even the 3 if he continues to develop that. Chris Dunn has also been great in the pick and roll as a passer. He just had 14 assists the other night, and his 3-point shot has also been surprisingly good. And both Dunn and Ayton will be a great defensive duo. Dunn can guard great guards such as Harden or Curry, and Ayton could guard dominant bigs like Towns or Cousins. Now in comparison, let's say the Bulls were to draft Michael Porter Jr. Let me ask you this. Do you think a duo of a guard and wing such as Westbrook and Durant is better than a duo of a guard and a big like Kobe and Shaq? If you're building the foundation of an offense in 2017, it's great to have a down-low presence and a perimeter presence for a balanced offense. If the Bulls took Porter, the offense would really be redundant, with LaVine and Porter really just taking turns being the ball handlers and scorer. It would work, but Ayton is a better fit. For Doncic, while he is 6'8", he really doesn't have the physicality to play the 3 or the defense, and I think having him at the 1 or 2 would just be a waste of Dunn and LaVine's talents. And as for Bagley, I think Bagley could have a similar fit to Ayton, but I think Ayton fills this role a little better. Being a rim protector and rebounder, Ayton is better at both. He's also a lot bigger and stronger, and overall I think he's a better presence in the paint. Bagley is also a natural 4. When you look at Ayton and Markkanen, it's clear who the 4 and 5 is. When it's Markkanen and Bagley, you can't say the same. Bagley and Markkanen could be a little redundant as Bagley plays a lot more outside of the paint than Ayton does, and Bagley and Lauri could step on each other's toes. A lineup with Chris Dunn, Zach LaVine, Lauri Markkanen, and DeAndre Ayton would be like a well-oiled machine. Then with Denzel Valentine and Antonio Blakeney off of the bench, along with whatever the Bulls get for Lopez, Holiday, and Nikola Mirotic, Ayton is the best fit for this roster, and if you're one of those people who think that you should always draft the best player, not the best fit, look at how that worked for the Philadelphia 76ers. They went best available every year and ended up with a huge logjam at the center spot, and they ended up trading both of those guys for practically nothing, wasting lottery picks and delaying their rebuild. Drafting the best fit on the team will result in winning and finishing this rebuild quickly. That's the end of this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more NBA content like this, and cue the outro music.